It's the Kyle Hyman Show on Redeemer Radio.
This is Kyle Hyman, and joining us all the way from Rome is one of our seminarians, Spenser St. who's been studying over at the Pontifical North American College in Rome, is going to be ordained a deacon along with his classmates there in Rome this Thursday, September 27th. Thanks for being here, Seminarian Spenser.
Thanks, Kyle. I really appreciate it.
So over the summer, we had the Diaconate ordination of two of your stateside classmates, Deacon Daniel Neeser and Deacon Jose Arroyo. With all of that going on, did you feel left out?
It's certainly easy to think that, and it was an opportunity for me to grow in just patience and especially to experience the joy through their eyes. But now it's time for me to be ordained and excited for this next step. So.
Yeah. What's been your overall experience of seminary so far?
It's been a lot of fun. There are definitely ups and downs like any school or any experience, but mostly filled with a lot of ups. Just between the studies and all the people that I get to interact with, the seminarians of our diocese and at my school, but then also summer assignments at different parishes. So I've really learned a lot, grown a lot, and excited for this next step.
And you didn't start in Rome. Can you remind us where you started seminary?
Certainly, yeah. My first 4 years for college seminary was at the Pontifical College Josephinum in Columbus, Ohio. So it was a little closer to home, which made coming home on breaks a little easier. But,
yes.
Yeah, it was a good school. I really enjoyed my time there and learned quite a bit about the church and about the faith.
And then how is it different over in Rome versus seminary here in the States?
It's pretty similar. One of the major differences is obviously location. But other than that, we have a different degree track, if you will, where what the guys do in 4 years back home, we'll do in 3. And then we'll start a second degree here that takes another 2 years. So I'll actually come back after priestly ordination this coming June to finish up my second degree. And that will take that second year there.
Yeah. So what has been the best thing about seminary?
Especially with seminary over here, just being close to the Holy Father, having had the chance to serve for him my first year coming here. And then along with that, the chance to get to meet him, because it's such an incredible man in the church. And the Holy Father is the one who sits on the seat of Peter. So it's being able to grow close to Peter, and ultimately through Peter, Christ. But to have that opportunity to be able to meet him in person and then to serve Mass at St. Peter's, I feel like it's every altar boy's dream to be able to serve there.
What was your serving job?
I was the thurifer. So I was the one with the big metal smoking thing on the chain.
Yeah.
I got to lead the procession into St. Peter's and out. So one of my classmates said it really well. He said that we peaked too soon, so it felt like we were at the height of our game the first year of our seminary here.
Nowhere to go but down.
Exactly, yeah. Once you serve for the Pope, I guess ultimately we're always serving for Christ, but at least in our experience here on Earth, serving for the Pope is one of the best opportunities we can get. So it's always a cherished memory that I'll have.
Yeah. So what's been the hardest part of seminary?
Being away from home, I think, especially coming over here. My first 2 years, I wasn't allowed to come home except for health reasons. So being away from my family, who I'm really close with, and my friends from high school and college seminary, and then being away from the diocese as well, my diocesan brothers, that was a challenge. Just learning how to go from having 18 of us at a seminary from the diocese to just being myself, and then how to interact with a lot of guys outside the diocese, depending on them for that fraternal support, while trying to stay in touch with the guys back home. That was a big challenge, especially my first 2 years.
Yeah, I bet. We talked with you in the past, back in episode 276 and then 479, along with Mark Hellinger in that one. And we've talked about your discernment and stuff, but can you remind us how you got into seminary or how you discerned that call?
Yeah, a lot of my discernment was in the foundation of my family. And so just being able to really feel comfortable with them and then experience the church through that first community, the first teachers, which are our parents. So really the seed, I think, was planted within the context of my family. And then through different events in the church, that seed was nurtured. So I come from St. Vincent de Paul in Fort Wayne, which is a very spiritually rich parish. So we were able to go to Mass throughout the summer to have really good priests as witnesses and a lot of young priests, which was nice for me to relate to as a young Catholic man. And so through their model, the priesthood was definitely something that seemed tangible and that was in the foreground of my discernment, especially leading into high school. I went to Bishop Dwenger High School, and the opportunity to have a chapel where I was every day was a great opportunity to just be able to take 5-10 minutes before school or at the start of lunch and go down and say some prayers, especially just focusing on, Lord, what is it that is your will for my life? Being able to pray about the vocation he's calling me to. And through that, just being involved with, again, the priests in my parish and around the diocese that I'd known, getting in touch with Monsignor Gaelic, who was the vocation director at that point.
Mm-hmm.
I got to go on a couple of the, what we call live-in weekends, the come and see, at then Immaculate Heart of Mary Seminary, where we were sending our college guys to see what the seminary was like on a day-to-day basis, and attend a couple classes with them. And just that thought of seminary and the priesthood always lingered with me, and especially in those moments of prayer, I really felt at peace with that calling to go to seminary. And so by senior year, I already had the papers, I think it was August of my senior year, and had them filled out, and by January, I had a meeting with Bishop Rhodes, and he had accepted me as a seminarian, and then he decided to send me to the Josephinum.
Uh-huh.
So.
And then later to Rome.
Yes, yeah. That was in October of my senior year of college. I get this ominous email from the bishop's secretary just saying, Bishop would like to meet with you on this day at this time. Are you able to make it? And of course you don't say no to the bishop, so it's not really knowing what was coming and just, starting to freak out a little bit, thinking what I had done to mess up and make the diocese mad, but nothing came to mind. So that was a lot of fun, just dwelling in that and what was coming, and had a nice meeting with Bishop during which he talked about my formation so far and the possibility about coming here.
We're talking with Seminarian Spenser St. Louis, who will be ordained to the Diaconate this Thursday. And what are you most looking forward to about being a deacon?
Certainly, it's the step that's right before the priesthood ordination. So there's certainly the foreground, the end of the tunnel, if you will, of priesthood ordination, and just being at that step right before it. But especially with being a deacon, being called to conform ourselves to Christ, the servant, being able to serve in the liturgy, learning how to do the different roles that are especially asked of the deacons, and then really just learning how to become a priest this year. Obviously, we've had 7 years of that, but this year we'll focus a lot more on the nuts and bolts, like confession and baptism, how to function in the sacraments as the minister of them. So I'm really looking forward to that, because that's what I'll be doing for the rest of my life.
Yeah. How many will be ordained with you for this diaconate ordination?
Yeah, I'm in a class of, there's 60 of us in total, and 40 of us will be ordained this Thursday.
Wow.
So about 20 of us have already been ordained back home.
Yeah, a little bit bigger than our diaconate ordination of 2 that we had over the summer.
It's a little different, a little longer, but it's the exact same liturgy, just done 40 times instead of 2.
And that's at St. Peter's Basilica? It
is, yes. Yeah, we'll be at what's called the altar of the chair. So if you've ever seen pictures of St. Peter's, you'll remember the alabaster window of the Holy Spirit.
Uh-huh.
Directly below that is a statue that's encasing a chair, believed to be what St. Peter would make dogmatic statements from, statements of the faith. And so right underneath that is an altar, the altar of the chair. And so that's the altar that we'll be at for that Mass. So we'll have about the back half, I think, of St. Peter's reserved just for the North American College and all of our guests in that ordination Mass, which is a pretty unique situation to have that much of St. Peter's reserved for you.
Yeah.
But it's a great opportunity. So,
how many are coming from the United States of your friends and family and people from the diocese for the ordination?
For myself, we have just around, I think it's 65 to 70.
That's awesome.
That are coming. There's a main pilgrimage group of about 47 who came over with Father Andrew And then I've got some other friends and family, and then a couple priests of the diocese. I think we have about 10 of them coming. And then my classmate Dan Neeser is actually coming to be the one to vest me. So he got permission from his school to miss a few days of classes to be able to do this for me.
That is so cool. And then you will be assigned to a parish then after you become a deacon?
Normally I would if I was back home, but with the NAC being over here in Italy, it's a lot harder for our relationships have previously been established with those communities.
Okay.
So we're actually assigned to college campuses of American universities that have study abroad programs here. So I'll be with the University of Notre Dame at their Rome campus this year.
Okay. And then when do you come back to the United States?
I'll come back hopefully a few days before June, because I think I want to say if everything lines up right, early June will be the priestly ordination. So I'll be back in time for that.
And then how long will you be in town? After
it depends on when my exam schedule is. If I have to come back and finish exams, it could just be a few days. But if not, I'll be here probably until mid-September, or I'll be home rather.
That's crazy.
So
and then back to Rome for another year of studies as a priest.
Correct. Yes.
All right. So what kind of advice would you have for people who want to encourage vocations? How can we be supportive to our seminarians and those that are discerning seminary?
Certainly. I think one of the best ways is to pray. And that it sounds like it's the typical go-to answer, but it really is true that prayer is the greatest source for vocations, I think. Just being able to pray for men's hearts to be open, because a lot of times they're either closed or they're extremely distracted in our day and age. So praying for open hearts for all the men whom God's calling. And then also, I think within the two communities, the community of your home parish, but then also the community of your family, to really be open and supportive of the possibility of vocations, to interact with the priests that you know, who's either assigned to your home parish or maybe through your high school, just to interact with them, see what their life is like, and come to know them as real people and not just a person who's up around the altar that you see every once in a while. I think those are great ways. And then also through different events at the diocese that we have, the one coming to mind is the Cupertino Classic, being able to see all of our seminarians and priests, again, just being normal men and having that competitive drive against each other, but really having that solid bond of fraternity in Christ.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Encourage people, of course, to pray for our seminarians, but especially pray for Spenser St. Louis, who will be ordained to the Diaconate on Thursday. So excited for you, and thanks so much for joining us today and sharing a little bit of your journey with us. Appreciate it.
No, thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Kyle.